For this research project, we teamed up with the Utah State University Admission Office. Together, we focused on two main questions. Is Utah State University perceived differently from other Utah-based universities? And how does the perception of USU affect the decision-making process of prospective students, both in and out of state, when deciding whether to apply to USU or another school? We sent out a 21-question survey to 10,000 students that applied to Utah State. We received 469 responses back for a response rate of 4.69%. Even though this response rate is really low, we were able to get a decent result to conclude from. Utah State University was founded in 1888 and has always been a leader in low-cost tuition across the country. USU offers more bachelor degrees than any other Utah school, and many are unique. Some include aerospace engineering, entrepreneurship, international business, music therapy, religious studies, and outdoor product design and development. Mission is competing with Brigham Young University, University of Utah, Utah Valley University, Weber, and Salt Lake Community College, all of which have a higher enrollment than USU. After consulting with the admissions department at Utah State, our team began the data collection process with exploratory research. We found articles, surveys, and studies online that related to our research topic to get a better understanding of what goes into the admissions process. Through our research, we ultimately found the top reasons that people choose a certain university, how your standardized test scores do not accurately show the student's abilities, and the qualities that the admission departments are looking for in the applicants. With this data we gathered, we came to the conclusion that our survey should focus on how Utah State is perceived compared to other universities, especially Utah universities. As well as this perception and reputation that Utah State has affects the decision of future students in choosing to come to Utah State. Next, we conducted personal interviews with students that are currently attending or prospectively attending Utah State. We asked them questions about their basic background, general questions about pursuing a college degree, more in-depth questions, and why they chose USU. Questions about their application process went and their perception of Utah State University. This interview method, we found that 3 out of 6 students did not choose Utah State as their first choice, but saw it as the most affordable option. These students did not find the social life of Utah State very appealing, but the campus was close to home and most affordable, so they decided to come here. When we interviewed the admissions office, they wanted to know what people think of the university, what their perception of USU, and how prospective students compare USU with other institutions in the state. They emphasized that Utah State is a research institute with a goal to educate the whole state of Utah. Because we are a research institution, we are in the top 3% of the universities in the nation, and the admissions office would like to know how better to portray this info to prospective students. Our casual research, we collected primary data using a survey that was emailed to 10,000 students that applied to Utah State. We chose to distribute this survey through email versus over the phone, mail, or in person because it was low cost and increased the amount of reach that we could.
So our survey was distributed to students that applied or prospective students that applied to USU, both ones that actually came to USU and ones that didn't. The purpose of the survey was, well, we found the purpose of the survey is to find the background information of the students that applied, their overall experience with applying to Utah State in the admissions office, and the students' perception of USU over other universities, especially those in Utah. So included in our survey, there were questions to cover those three main things. We also asked, like, what was the deciding factor for choosing or not choosing USU, and how likely they were to recommend USU to a friend. And we sent this survey through an email, and just to list some advantages and disadvantages for sending it through an email. Some advantages are that it's very inexpensive, has a far reach, you can get it to a lot of people really quickly, and it is quick and easy to distribute. There are a lot of disadvantages. There's very low response rate. We got under 5% response rate. There's a lack of personalization for the surveys, and there are no feelings and emotions conveyed through them. So we can't actually tell why they answered anything the way that they did. So to go through some of the quantitative research that we found, so we ran statistical analysis on the data from the survey. And the purpose of this was to find the importance of things like scholarship and whether or not the applicant is an in-state applicant or out-of-state, and kind of the importance of those things, and whether they actually come to Utah State. And we also wanted to find some of the correlations between the questions that we asked. So here are some of the conclusions that we found with these statistical analyses. For scholarships, out-of-state students, 80.4% of them had some form of scholarship offered. 19.6% had no scholarship at all. In-state students, 74% had a form of scholarship and 26% did not. So this data we found concludes that receiving a scholarship as an out-of-state student more readily affects the decision-making process compared to in-state students. We did a test on a regression analysis for if Utah State was the first choice, if there was a scholarship involved, and we found a weak correlation between these two things. And again, just to briefly touch up on the test that we ran, we found that satisfaction, running a chi-square test, the majority of students were satisfied with the application process here. Residency, the majority of applicants were in-state applicants. And we found the net promoter score, which was 33%. It's a good score. It's not great. We'd want to shoot for over 50%, but 33% is still good. And the deciding factors for what we found, the deciding factors for coming to USU, the most important things were the cost, the location, and academic programs offered. The least important factors that we found was the quality of the school, social life here, and family and friend influence.
There were 3 limitations in this research. The first one was the click-through rate, which was only 4.5%. Second, students were responding with which schools they applied for across the country. What we want to know is the order of preference and why. Third, the questions were too broad, resulting in limitations to the results, as it made it difficult to interpret, recode, and get accurate results. When looking at the overview of the research, there were 3 things that stood out to us. First, we saw that 39% of respondents stated that Utah State was not their first choice. Second, looking at out-of-state students who applied, 78% of those students received either a partial or full scholarship. Third, those students who got accepted perceived the university as low-cost alternative, which is a determining factor in their pursuit to higher education. In conclusion, we found that a large percentage of students accepted to Utah State University do not see it as their first choice or as an elite form of education. The USU admissions department perceives the university in a different light than the prospective students do. This is because the prospective students are not aware of the research opportunities, land grants, and programs offered at USU. From our findings, we recommend changing the perception of Utah State from everyone being accepted to an elite research institution with higher education opportunities. The first step in this process would be to require a higher GPA, ACT, and SAT score. Second, we would want to begin publicizing the school that offers a lot of research opportunities. Other recommendations for future research would be to shadow other universities in Utah as well as universities across the United States to observe their application process. Also, adding another question in the future surveys which would ask to rank the schools located in their region. By doing this, we would see how Utah State compares to the other universities in Utah. Thank you.